It is October 13th, 1601. One of Czech peers, Peter Vock of Rosenberg, is hosting a lavish celebration at his residence near Prague Castle. Among the guests is Tycho Brahe, a Danish astrologer, and above all, an astronomer considered the finest and most precise observer of the night sky. He has reason to celebrate. At a meeting a few days earlier, he agreed with Emperor Rudolf II to compile entirely new astrological tables for him, together with his collaborator Johannes Kepler, who is 25 years his junior. He does not know that it will never happen. Shortly after the celebration, he falls ill. For 11 days, he lies at home with a fever, trying to treat himself. Nothing helps. Less than 2 weeks later, on October 24, 1601, Tycho Brahe dies. Alongside his brilliant astronomical discoveries and inventions, he leaves behind the mystery of his sudden, and to this day not fully explained, death. Tycho Brahe, originally named Tuge Ottesen Brahe, was born in 1546 at the Danish castle of Knudstrup as the first of 11 children. His father, Otto Brahe, was a royal councillor. His mother, Beata Bille, was a noblewoman. However, little Tycho was raised by his childless uncle Jürgen, who adopted him, and he had a clear vision for his nephew's future. He would become a lawyer. Young Tycho studied at Latin school, then at the University of Copenhagen. There he studied the fundamentals of philosophy and rhetoric. He began studying law 3 years later in Leipzig, but the future mapped out by his uncle changed on August 21st, 1560. That day, 14-year-old Tycho witnessed a partial solar eclipse in the sky. The extraordinary phenomenon captivated him so much that from that moment he devoted increasingly more time to observing the heavens, despite his uncle's displeasure. When Jürgen Brahe died in 1565, Tycho definitively hung up his law studies and began devoting himself exclusively to his passions: astrology, mathematics, but primarily astronomy. After his uncle's death, Tycho inherits considerable wealth, which enables him to travel. At universities in Wittenberg, Basel, Augsburg, and Rostock, he meets renowned scientists of the time and gathers knowledge from them. Results come quickly. His first observational success comes in 1566, when while observing the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, Tycho discovers that the old astronomical tables used by contemporary scholars are inaccurate. Around this time, he begins constructing metal instruments that are very precise for their era. He also develops a new targeting system for them. Partly due to this, his measurements are 20 times more accurate than those of all other astronomers of the time. Besides his research, Brahe leads a rather wild life. At age 20, at one of the Christmas parties at Rostock University, he quarrels with his cousin Mandrup Parsberg about which of them is the better mathematician. In the subsequent sword duel, he loses part of his nose. He addresses this with a metal replacement, which he glues over the scar with ointment. Another turning point in his life comes after 1571. Tycho's father dies and the young scientist decides to return home to Denmark. There he soon ranks among the most significant astronomers of his time. In November 1572, he astounds the world with a newly discovered supernova in the constellation Cassiopeia, which shines so brightly that it is observable even during the day. In his research, Brahe determines that it is a new star, not a comet or meteor, as most other astronomers believed. It is then that Danish King Frederick II notices his fame and has 2 observatories built for the successful 30-year-old astronomer on the island of Hven, Uraniborg and Stjerneborg. These soon become the astronomical centers of the world. On Hven, Tycho Brahe conducts his most significant observations with his colleagues. On a large celestial globe with a diameter of nearly 5 feet, he records the positions of thousands of stars, studies the movements of the moon, proves that planets are not carried in their motion by crystal spheres as scientists had previously believed, but that they move freely through space. He creates his geoheliocentric theory, according to which Earth is the center of the universe, around which the Sun and Moon orbit, while all other planets orbit around the Sun. This proved incorrect. But in its time, it had great impact because it sought to reconcile Nicholas Copernicus's then unacceptable heliocentric theory with church dogma. The idyll ends in 1597. The new King Christian IV refuses to pay the enormous sums for operating the observatories, and Brahe's opponents at court, in state administration, and in the church intrigue against him. Brahe then proves to be a rather poor negotiator. He quarrels with the king so severely that Christian banishes him from the country. Brahe then wanders aimlessly through Europe for 2 years, until Habsburg Emperor Rudolf II invites him to his court in Prague. The emperor knows Tycho through the accounts of his chief court physician Thaddeus Hagetius, who visited the Danish astronomer on Ven and became very friendly with him. Brahe arrives in Prague with his companion Kirsten, whom he fell in love with at age 27 and who gradually bore him 7 children. The emperor assigns him the position of court astronomer and offers him a high salary plus 3 of his residences for creating an observatory. He chooses Benátky, some 30 miles out of Prague. He has its castle rebuilt according to his vision, installing instruments in 13 rooms with which his assistants observe the position and movement of stars and planets. It is precisely in Benátky that Brahe begins collaborating with another brilliant scientist, mathematician Johannes Kepler. The two men know each other from previous correspondence, but only now, in November 1600, do they meet in person. And as soon becomes apparent, the meeting of these two men brings a fundamental breakthrough in humanity's understanding of the universe. Brahe owns vast amounts of data from his observations but cannot properly evaluate it. Kepler excels precisely in this ability. When deriving his 3 famous laws describing planetary motion, he uses Tycho Brahe's systematic and most accurate astronomical measurements of the time. The collaboration of these two men lasts just over a year. During this time, both egocentric scientists quarrel, and Brahe spends increasingly more time in Prague. There, at one of their personal meetings in September 1601, Rudolf II commissions him to create astrological tables. Neither can guess that Kepler will complete them in 1623, and that neither will live to see it. The death of Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe on October 24, 1601, is shrouded in many myths. The most popular concerns a ruptured or damaged bladder based on symptom descriptions by Johannes Kepler. Theories also emerged that Brahe might have been murdered. Mercury was found in his hair and beard. One version even suggested that Kepler poisoned Brahe to steal his discoveries. Scientists ruled out these theories after exhuming Tycho's remains from his grave at Tin Church on Old Town Square in 2010. They confirmed Mercury's presence, but not in amounts that could have threatened the astronomer's life. Recent research points to uremia, a condition where nitrogen compounds normally excreted in urine accumulate in the blood. The patient first feels unwell, then experiences vomiting, headaches, disorientation, muscle cramps, consciousness disorders, and finally death. Unlike many contemporary colleagues who had to defend their teachings, recant, or even end up burned as heretics, Tycho Brahe departed as a celebrated man. Prague held a magnificent funeral for him on November 4, 1601, attended by some 600 distinguished guests. They bid farewell to a man who improved celestial observation methods to such precision that his accuracy wasn't surpassed for 60 years, until the invention of telescope.